Welcome to Series 13.1, Aristotelian Definitions. This is Paul Medeiros coming to you today from Salve Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island. Behind me are the lawns of the university, the cliff walk, and beyond Easton Bay. Philosophy explores basic assumptions. One result are definitions, providing insight into these basic assumptions. Look at the famous dialogues of Plato. They typically begin with a question about a basic assumption. For example, what does it mean to have good character? How do I acquire virtues? Do virtues come from the gods? And the effort of the conversation is to arrive at a definition of what is a virtue. Many philosophers use words in new and innovative ways, and they will make an effort to define their words for their audience. And for those of us studying philosophy, it is very important to look out for new words or words without a clear definition and make an effort to formulate a definition in order to understand that philosophy. This interest in definitions is similar to work in the area of law. In the courthouse and in the legislature, lawyers, or those who are professionals in the area of law, are talented at formulating definitions of difficult words such as person and corporation. So as we practice learning how to formulate definitions in philosophy, we are also preparing for a career in areas of law. Our objective today is to learn one important approach to formulating definitions called the genus and differentiae approach. And we wish to apply this technique in writing philosophy dialogues. In Philosophy 225, we'll call this form of definition an Aristotelian definition, and we can refer to it as a method or a technique. One of my sources is a famous logic textbook called Introduction to Logic, with almost a 60-year history, and the first author was Irving Copey, and several other authors have joined on. According to them, there are upwards of 10 or 12 different kinds of definitions. I'll mention three of the most important ones. There is the stipulative definition. A stipulative definition is when we assign a meaning to a word or to a symbol, and we use it for temporary purposes or just for the occasion in which that word is defined. So sometimes stipulative definitions are referred to as like arbitrary definitions, because anybody outside of our forum or outside of our game won't be able to understand our definition. So for example, as a class, we might assign a meaning to like the word yellow. You might decide to say yellow means today is a good day for us to go outside and learn on the front lawn. It's a yellow day. So nobody else outside of our classroom could understand that terminology, but it would be a useful definition for us. Stipulative definitions. Lexical definitions is our ordinary understanding of a definition. Lexical definitions provide what is the established and common use of a word, and very often there are multiple meanings of a word, so a lexical definition might include several sort of sub-definitions. These are the definitions found in the dictionary, lexical definitions. A third type of definition, the theoretical definition. According to Copey et al., theoretical definitions assume some theoretical background. You have to be an astronomer, for example, to understand the complexity of the definition of the word planet. So typically, theoretical definitions are beyond ordinary usage, and they involve or they require some learning and study in order to formulate and in order to understand. In our classroom, we are often exploring and formulating theoretical definitions, which require knowledge of virtue ethics or knowledge of ethics and moral philosophy. The genus and differentiate approach could be used to formulate either stipulative definitions, lexical definitions, or theoretical definitions. So we might think of genus and differentiate as a method for formulating definitions. However, sometimes we might lapse into referring to these as a type of definition as well. According to tradition, the genus and differentiate approach is the best approach because it gives a good sketch of the essence of something or its nature. Let's start with an example. The omphalos. You see behind me a model of the famous omphalos. The omphalos is a sacred object of ancient Greece representing the navel of the earth. That is a nice genus and differentiate definition of the omphalos. Let me explain. Well, we have first the word defined, omphalos. Then we have named the genus, sacred object, and we've mentioned at least two differentiae from ancient Greece and representing the navel of the earth. Let's go over the process of formulating a genus and differentiae definition step by step. First, of course, you have the word to define. The first step is to identify the genus. That is the group to which the thing you're defining belongs. Now, you may be defining an abstract concept, in which case you would also identify the genus to which the abstract concept belongs. Now, there are very general genuses for anything, and there are what we might call proximate genuses. So the genus of the omphalos is sacred objects. Let's go with a simpler example. The lemon. What is a good genus for the lemon? Well, there are many possible genuses or genera. The most proximate genus is fruit. A lemon belongs to the group of things fruit. A little more general, plants. A lemon belongs to the things called plant. And then perhaps even more general, living things. A lemon belongs to the genus living things. Living things is too general in order to help us to understand what a lemon is. So we choose instead the proximate genus, fruit. So in every case, when you define a term, your goal is to make some effort to identify the proximate genus. Next step, step 2, is to review some of the examples of the thing that you're defining. So it may be an observable thing in the world that you're defining, or it might be an abstract concept that you're defining. So in the case of a lemon, well, one example of a lemon would be the lemon that I find in the produce section. Lemonade would also perhaps would be a good example of a lemon, and then lemon cookies. I like a lemon cookie. So there are at least 3 examples I have in mind now of what I mean by a lemon or lemon. Now my goal is to practice some insight and decide what is it about each of the things I've mentioned that makes it a lemon. In other words, what is the differentiate? Differentiate is a Latin word. It is plural, and it refers to some distinguishing characteristic of the thing. So in the case of lemon, I know one common characteristic of all of the examples. they're yellow. So the color yellow is a characteristic of lemonade, the lemon at the produce stand, and also a lemon cookie. But that's usually not enough. Sometimes you need several differentiae to really distinguish something. So in the case of a lemon, well, bananas are also yellow, so we need to distinguish the lemon from the banana. So sour taste is a very good distinguishing characteristic of a lemon. So in short, we have identified two differentiae of the lemon, that it is yellow, and moreover that it has a sour taste. And that's true of all the examples. Lemonade has a sour taste, and the lemon cookie has a sour taste. Well, we've done now all the work to formulate a good Aristotelian definition. We simply formulate a sentence combining the genus with the differentiae. So, a lemon is a fruit with yellow color and sour taste. There is some creativity involved in forming these definitions. Others will see different distinguishing features. Clearly, a good definition will give us the proximate genus and what are the distinguishing characteristics. Let's hear another example, something more abstract and philosophical, like virtue. Virtue, we've learned from St. Thomas Aquinas, is a kind of habit. So habit is the genus of virtue. There are more general genera, like quality. Quality is very general, and so general that it doesn't give us good guidance about what a virtue is. So habit is a better proximate genus. And we might notice that there are many different kinds of habits. We want to find the differentiae which distinguish a virtue from other kinds of habits, such as bad habits. According to our authors, virtues empower me to do a specific act or activity well. So that, I propose, is the differentiae. In this case, there's just one characteristic. So we can combine now a definition with the genus and the differentiae. A virtue is a habit empowering me to do a specific act or activity well. The next step is to practice weaving definitions into our dialogue writing. Dialogue 2 is due at the start of spring, and the third dialogue will be announced after Easter. I want to emphasize that there is some creativity in art in formulating a definition, so there's not one specific correct definition for any concept or word that we define this semester. I'm showing now on the screen a worksheet which will enable you to practice forming good definitions with simple terms and with philosophical terms as well. And let us end now by hearing some examples of me defining simple concepts and maybe some philosophical ones as well. Out behind us is the cliff walk where there are seagulls. What is a seagull? A seagull, well, the genus would be bird. And what is a characteristic distinguishing the seagull from other types of birds? Well, the seagull has webbed feet. And we could also add that it eats an omnivorous diet. So a seagull is a bird with webbed feet and an omnivorous diet. There are probably similar birds that meet those descriptions, so we would have to study seagulls further in order to add to our list of differentiae in order to have a good definition. Pencil. A pencil is a type of instrument. So instrument is the genus, and what distinguishes that instrument from all the other instruments? Well, it is an instrument that enables me to mark on paper. So a pencil is an instrument enabling me to mark on paper. Transcendentalism. Transcendentalism, I define or identify as a kind of community, a 19th century community. And there are, of course, many 19th century communities. What distinguishes this one? Well, they were from New England. They were spiritually minded, and they were committed to learning and teaching and publishing. So we have all materials for a good definition. Transcendentalism is a community, a 19th century community of spiritually minded persons committed to learning, teaching, and publishing. University. I think of a university as also a community. So I'll say its genus is a community. And there are, of course, many kinds of communities. So we want to distinguish the university community from all the other communities. It is committed to learning, and we should add diverse forms of learning. Okay, so a university is a community committed to diverse forms of learning.